Hey, Joshua, how are you? Yes, you are first. Uh, let's see. Let me just share this out. Hey, Metal, how are you? Apparently, Metal's mind is blown because Joshua is first. Let's see. We're sharing this out on the one, the only, the Twitters. We're all a Twittered. I guess we should share it in Discord too for those in Discord that want to be reminded. With the Chinese New Year here, although it's not really, I think it's more the zodiac um, for Japan that I've used to create a character called Hip Hop Rapster. I'm going to be making him up tonight. Um, well, just chilling, talking with you guys in the chat, guys and gals in the chat, and what are, oh, as you might have just heard, I am going to be working on a character called Hip Hop Rapster, part of my Japanese zodiac. Since it's the year of the rabbit for um the Chinese zodiac. Anyways, I don't know whether it'd be the same for the Japanese, but you know, it's a rabbit, right? Yeah. What's up, Doc? Or it could draw bugs, although bugs would be probably fairly fast. But let's see. I went and got a few different pictures. Um, I don't know what this hip hop rapster is going to look like exactly, except you know, a rabbitish. So how are you doing, Joshua? Metal, Massive Panda. Here is a hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
How are you today, Metal?
I'm doing.
That is good. Better doing than not doing, right? I guess.
Depends what I'm not doing.
True. Just so you can see without looking on YouTube. Not that I'm not sure which end you're watching or if you're even watching in Discord, except for being in Discord.
I have two monitors.
Ah, well, that's good. Just trying to get everything. There we go.
Which, well, except when I'm gaming, then I only have one monitor. But I'm not playing video games right now.
Yeah. So what to talk about? What to talk about? Well, I was talking about my Well, I know nothing about my character, although using this
As
program.
usual.
Well, this is a character I made up for. Did I make it up for the chat? I think I made this one up for the Chinese. Actually, this one is the one that I made up for the Chinese Zodiac hip hop rapster. It was supposed to be for my other comic imprint that I've not done much with, Dark Light Comics. So that's why I know really nothing about the character.
Zodiac Rabbit, eh? You're cramping on my style, I see.
Hey, I came up with this concept years ago, although I had probably intended for the character to be male, but in getting this picture for, somebody doing some hip hop, it happens to be a woman, so I'm thinking I might make mine a woman. Hip hop rapster. or Rabbitster. I'm not sure. I'm playing on Rapper or Rapster, whatever, with Rabbit. You know, so I'm not
I
sure.
see how it is.
Yours is not quite the same as mine, so I guess that's good. Massive Panda says everything's good. Just trying to desperately finish a comic page before the night is over, so it won't be on my mind tomorrow. Yeah, I know what that's like. I gotta finish off a page for somebody else that I'm doing stuff for, but um, for Darkon, get the second page done. Just I got a I just thought he has this whole couple space scene, and I don't think the way he did his thumbnails that the things are exactly accurate for the size of the ships that he's told me. Either that or I've made some ships too big, just trying to make them more the focal point. But I can't show too much. I can't really show that because I'm not supposed to. I can show. I can show it off to make shorts with, but not in every page. And I've already done the first page. Hello, Just Carol. How are you?
It's like when like your boy Zach or someone does like a review of a comic and it's like, yeah, I can't show you every page or they'll give me a strike. So here's like every 10th page.
Yeah. Although, speaking of that, did you check out my excerpt reading from Gary Shipman's um, Packham's Land that I read in Discord, but nobody was there this past Saturday?
uh, no, I did not check that out. I've been busy.
Yeah, I
I have
uh,
to. Uh,
go ahead.
no, listen, I have to read like 4 comics tonight for a show tomorrow after my own show, and it's like,
Oh, lovely. That's for Reese's show, right?
yeah, it's my favorite Wolverine comic, which I kind of cheated on, and I picked a Wolverine Gambit crossover because I'm not that big of a fan of Wolverine, but I love Gambit.
uh, I am okay. And okay, and good to hear you okay. With me is the Metal, who has his own show on Wednesdays and Saturdays called the Vomitorium with another friend of ours called Marsupial Gamer.
Yeah, I have a
Uh,
lot of other stuff too, but that is the most consistent thing.
yeah, and they usually talk a lot about gaming stuff, but they do talk about some other pop culture stuff too when it comes up.
Yeah, that's mostly just because there's more gaming news, right? Like,
Right.
actually, we haven't even talked about video games for, like, I think, like, the last 2 episodes for the most part, maybe even three, because it's still gaming, I guess. It's been all tabletop stuff with, like, the D&D, OGL, and some film-related things. But it's kind of just, like, what's ever in these kind of, I don't know, nerdy hobby culture zones. That's what we talk about.
I like Gambit too. Joshua says Gambit is cool. Just Carol says, I know the name. I know them names.
Yeah, Gambit is actually my favorite Marvel character. He used to be my second favorite, but they kind of destroyed Carol Danvers in all aspects as of like X-Men versus Avengers or whatever, Avengers versus X-Men back in 2011-ish, 12, somewhere around there. That's when they decided to kill that character, and somehow they have not destroyed Gambit yet. I don't know how he's gotten pretty clean since then.
Yeah. Well, the problem the thing is how they probably haven't destroyed him. He's a fairly popular character, but he's not a main character. And of course, they didn't try to make him into their Wonder Woman, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Or maybe I
I
am
don't even think they were trying
surprised.
to turn her into. It's like even worse. They weren't trying to turn Carol into their Wonder Woman. They were trying to turn her into their Superman. They were trying to have her be the flagship character for the whole thing. It's like, no, it's Spider-Man. You're not gonna have anybody else think the main character of Marvel is Spider-Man, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think they were trying to change her into their female character, which would be
Um,
Wonder Woman. Although definitely you're correct that like probably Spider-Man is their most famous. Probably I'd say followed by Wolverine, and probably their most famous female character is one of two, in my opinion. Either Jean Grey or um, Sue Storm.
yeah, I could probably see that. Let's
You know,
say like neither of those I think are like horribly popular, but then I have to think is like, yeah, but none of their female characters are horribly popular, so those probably are the most popular ones they have.
the only other one maybe I could think of is maybe Rogue.
Yeah, I can see Rogue because at least with newer people or younger people like my generation over, because she was really big in that cartoon show.
Yeah,
Actually, she was really big in both X-Men cartoon shows that they made.
yeah. Massa Pandas. I feel like they had some of that Gambit external stuff in the '90s. I bet I still have it in one of my long boxes closest. Gotta blow off all that dust. No. Are you talking from the Age of Apocalypse with Gambit? Massive Gambit. I think it was externals. I remember that.
Because
I
like I
have
remember the
them.
last thing that I read involving Gambit was probably back. I think it was like 2017 or whatever. Maybe it was the Rogan Gambit when they were kind of like officially hitched kind of comic, and they did like a 6 issue limited run, and that was actually pretty good in a time where comics were doing pretty bad overall.
Yeah. I've got I think a 4 issue short for Gambit miniseries in my collection somewhere.
Yeah. See, my theory was that there's nothing they could do to destroy Gambit, and they wouldn't want to use him unless they could. And by that I mean he's already everything wrong with men from their perspective, and that's what makes him charming. Like he was always seen as kind of a not so savory guy, but he was likable because of it. Like he was a very charming dude, and it's like no, they could literally leave him exactly the way he always was, and they would see him as bad, and the audience would still see him as likable.
Yeah. Let's see, Panda. That might be it. That was so long ago. I honestly can't remember, but now I kind of curious to look. I do remember liking the art, though. Yeah, I have. I think, except for maybe one or two of the beginning or ending books, I have all of the Age of Apocalypse books. Well, for when they switched it over for like 4 months, the X Men books because they didn't do anything else much with the other characters. Although they had them in like a big extra book, like a story on Spidey, a story on other characters.
Yeah, almost like a not like a themed anthology, but functionally like an anthology where you might get multiple stories in a book.
Yeah, it'd be like 5 or 6 stories, but about the other, like what was Spider-Man's role in the Age of Apocalypse, or Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four, all that. What were they doing in this storyline, since it got totally changed? Almost sort of like what they did with when Wanda did the whole, wiped the whole universe, redid the whole universe.
Mm. Yeah.
I forget what that storyline was called. Which, of course, we know they slightly did in WandaVision.
I'm talking about House of M.
Oh yeah, House of M. Now that's a storyline I didn't read. I just again it was over all the X Men books, and they had one or two, other books to
Yeah, because I
tell you.
went back to read it because that was like before I was reading comics. But God, trying to figure out the order that you're supposed to read all that stuff after the fact, hard. Like you have to, I had to go to like different wiki pages, and somebody had to like write down the order and figure out which issues to read of which comics.
Yeah. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I never was reading them at that time, or not consistently, anyways. Although I have quite a few X Men books because I did collect the Uncanny X Men for a while. Collected a few X Men books actually for a while. I actually have some X Men manga books where they basically took the storyline from the '90s cartoon and put it into manga.
I know which one you're talking about. I've read it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Master Panda says, I know everyone talks about the Jim Lee's X Men run in the early '90s, but I preferred JR. JR's art and Joe, I can't pronounce that name, art on X Men in the mid to late '90s
Jr.
more.
Jr. He's talking about Ramita Jr. I think.
Oh, yeah, but then there's a Joe Mataridia.
Yeah.
He said, because I'm a weirdo, I guess. Yeah. Well, it depends on how the stories connect it with you or which ones you read first. Maybe I don't know.
I
There's
have a
always
buddy who hates Jr. Jr. Actually, Rick, you know him. It's Buck. Buck can't stand uh, John Romita Jr. like at all.
fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. I don't know most of who the artists were. I have heard a lot of names over the years, but I wouldn't be able to tell one person's art from another. Well, there's only about one that I could tell from most people's, and that's Alex Ross.
Yeah. I'm certain, sure there's certain ones that like if we took some of their most iconic panel work and put in front of you, you'd probably know. Like even outside of uh, his own stuff, like his original work, Mignola's art just like really stands out. Like I was like, oh yeah, that's Mike Mignola, you know,
Yeah.
like
Well,
or
oh,
who's another one?
it's not because they're not good or anything. It's just because I
Yeah,
never really paid attention to who was drawing what thing. So I don't,
yeah,
like, if I could go looking through my stuff to see whether I have it, and I wouldn't know one way or another. It's just like I didn't know Art Taber did a lot of the Ultimate Spider-Man, I think it was. But like I've got a lot of that stuff, so
yeah. I
the
mean that's fair too. Like I'm starting to know them, or I started maybe like a decade ago when I reached like the age of majority is when I started paying attention to stuff. But like I didn't pay attention to the name of any artist or writer like at all the way from like childhood to high school.
yeah, and I don't think I even paid attention to the writers. Like The only
Yeah.
reason I paid attention to Alex Ross was, that artwork is so phenomenal that it's
Yeah.
beyond. And it was more when I think he did Kingdom Come that I realized about him. I didn't even realize. I know now, but I didn't realize Mark Wade wrote that.
Yeah, I think his art really carries the series because I can't stand the story in it.
Yeah.
Such an overhyped story.
Massive
The art's
Panda.
great.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was it.
Okay. Massive Panda says, yeah, John Romita Jr. seems like one of those you either love him or hate him type of artist. Haha. I dig his stuff though. The more of his older stuff though. His newer stuff looks rushed. And then he says, exactly, Metal. I was organizing some loose comics a while back and I came across a Superman issue. It looked a lot like an undeveloped Magnolia, and sure enough, it was Mike Magnolia's. Yeah, if I start looking
Oh,
at
I
his.
love his early stuff too. Like, oh,
Uh,
so raw.
and I'm sure if I went and I studied this stuff enough, I could begin to recognize all that sort of stuff. But the question is, am I going to go uh, study it enough? As much as I like my comics, I don't think so. I won't say it would be a waste of time, but I'd rather spend my time trying to do my stuff or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, well, I don't even go out of my way to study it. It's just, I think it's also come up more being in a lot of these comic circles, right? Or being on Matt Reese's show a lot, which is all about talking about comics in depth. It's like a lot of this stuff is I'm relearning, like things about comics that I read a long time ago, and just kind of like absorbing a lot of the knowledge.
Let's see. Massive Panda says, I had no idea he even did a Superman issue.
Yeah, I think he did some Batman stuff too, at one point in time. Yeah, yeah. You know what? He did because they are adapting one of his runs, or they just adapted it into a movie. The Nightmare Comes to Gotham movie is an adaptation of a run he did that takes place in the 20s. So it's like an alternate universe, right? Like a what if type thing. And it's just a 1920s Gotham, but with like the personality of Bruce Wayne and stuff that had been developed years later, thrown back there. It's kind of neat. It was an interesting run, so I kind of want to watch the movie. I thought that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it could be for sure. I might have seen an ad for it. I know there's a one. Probably the next DC cartoon movie I'm gonna watch is I think it's Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes or the Legionnaires, something like that. It's coming out in February.
Why is Supergirl doing things with them?
There
Are
was
they
a
just doing the same storyline, but instead of having a out of time super man slash Superboy, they're gonna put Supergirl in the place instead?
well, I think so, but there are comics that she did that she was with the Legion of Superheroes for a while. There are comics for that.
No, I know that. I'm just like, if this is like one of the first things you're doing with them, I don't know why you'd be skipping straight to her.
Yeah, who knows? It's
Yeah.
it's Marvel and DC. Well, probably an old storyline that people like. It's the one thing that they're sort of doing stuff that people actually like is the cartoon movies.
Oh yeah, their animated department's the only thing that's competent over there.
Yeah.
I'll probably give it a try though. I really like Supergirl. She's probably my favorite. They haven't done enough to screw her up in the comics. I hate that TV show they made.
Yeah,
Awful.
yeah.
In the comics, she's still not bad.
The first season wasn't too bad, and then of course, as we both know, it just started getting worse from there.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I was already, I would say it wasn't too bad, but I was already kind of like iffy on it when I saw that pilot episode. It's like, okay, this is a Supergirl show, but that person doesn't act anything like Kara. Like
Yeah,
that's it's Kara in name alone.
yeah. Well, there's that. Unfortunately, they gave her too many Superman's villains. Not that I think Supergirl has a
They tried
lot
to
of
give her
her.
Superman's life. They were basically trying to make a Superman show without Superman. And then
Yeah,
eventually they brought Superman into it later anyway.
yeah. And the only thing I didn't like, well, Superman was sort of in it from the beginning, but just in name or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
like they wanted to do it without actually having him in the show for a
yeah.
long time, and then they brought him in.
But the problem is, Superman's supposed to have been around for quite some time, yet half his villains that they're bringing into, or if not all of them,
Appeared in her show, like that's their origin was in her circumstance. It's not like she just happened to cross paths with them.
and that's a throw off. I think enough to a lot of comic fans. You know, like he's been around, like 5, 10 years. Well, no, probably 15 years actually. Really, when you think about it, because he finds her as a young, what, 12, 13 year old person, and now she's
Yeah, well I know the actual story. She was 14
yeah.
when she made it to here. I don't know how close they kept that in the show, but it's got to be somewhere around there.
Yeah, so well, okay, maybe it's 10 years. Somewhere between 10 and 15 years. And he's been
But
operational
still, he's been
before
flying around for a decade.
more than a decade because he was
Yeah,
already established.
yeah,
So would say he's at least a decade and a half, I would say, when by the time she becomes Supergirl. I'm sure he's run across all these villains that they brung in.
yeah. See, I think they wasted a lot of potential, and part of it was because of the nature of how they want to do. They wanted to do an adult show, right? Like they wanted basically to be like a CW drama sitcom, like any of the other one, like One Tree Hill or whatever the heck they used to do. I forget what channel what was on, but they wanted one of those shows, just with superhuman problems in it, and because of that, they wanted it to be a little bit more adult, so they could have certain aspects of the life without having to really worry like the adults having their own sex life and stuff like that. While what would have been cool is if we saw a teen drama show in a way that's actiony, where we actually saw her as a teenager and she was starting things out under Clark's shadow.
Yeah.
Maybe he forces her to go to school, maybe not, whatever. But like that would actually give like a good reason to be resentful of her cousin because she's like constantly in his shadow. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you could have went with that show, and
Yeah.
it would have been truer to form with Supergirl.
Yeah, for sure. I would tend to agree for sure. But and then well, they did bring one thing that was in the more recent Supergirl comics at the time was the World Breaker ones, but they brought them in so bad, not even
Yeah.
close to the storyline that's in the comics. You know,
I'm just glad that they weren't working on any of their shows with Green Lanterns or anything, or else by like season 3 or 4, they would have had some excuse to turn her into a Red Lantern, which would have been even worse for the show.
yeah, which happened in the comics, as we know.
Yeah. I called it though. I remember I was when that was happening in the comics. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it happening. And I was talking to Buck, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like a normal person can't take off a Red Lantern, like they can't force the ring off of them because their blood has turned into like molten magma or whatever, and they would die if they took the ring off. But like she's a Kryptonian who has arguably an even better healing factor than her cousin because she absorbs sunlight faster. She should be able to just rip it off, eat through her blood boiling, and then just recover from that. And then, like, a couple years into that run, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I know she wasn't a Red Lantern for long.
Yeah.
Which I did actually, in some ways, I didn't mind them making her a Red Lantern. It gave some more depth, I think, to her.
Well, and it made sense too. She always had an anger issue.
Yeah, especially
She was
that
very
version of
quick
her.
to, yeah. But even for a long time, she's always been a short fuse. And I know part of it too, and this is actually one of the reasons I hated the show so much, is that because Kara was 14 before she went into like stasis, she had already lived on like a Kryptonian colony with Kryptonian culture. So she was a person of a completely different culture and had different values and stuff. And the
Yeah,
values that she was raised in made her kind of short tempered.
yeah. That is definitely a whack. That's something I didn't like too about the series, that she didn't come from, you know, Argo City, was it? You know,
Yeah.
the city in space. I'll say the Kryptonian city in
Yeah.
space.
Well, then worse, right? So they still wanted that character in the show eventually. So then they took one of the Legionnaires, right? They took Mon-El and brought him in and basically gave him the personality that Kara should have had to a degree.
Yeah,
He was like the up and ready go getter who had a short fuse and didn't understand the culture of the world that he was in because he was raised in another culture. Like that's basically Kara's personality, and they put it on somebody else.
yeah. I didn't really like them bringing Mon-El in like that
I
myself.
didn't either.
Well, even with the switch, even if he didn't have that personality, I don't think it really worked, and had to have him as a love interest for her, because
Yeah.
anybody from the thing was going to be Brainiac 5 that she should have had the love interest, because that's actually in the comics.
Yeah, and they have a better chemistry. Like that would be horrible for her and Monel. They would just be butting heads nonstop.
And then, of course,
Which,
well, the way they did all the Legionnaires, I think, in that
yeah.
series were pathetic.
Well, part of it too is like we want all the characters in, but we don't want to actually do the whole Legion thing. So it's like they're just going to be out of place. They don't belong anywhere. And say, eh.
Yeah, they don't do things right. Well, then there's just the fact.
We were breaking up during like the last couple seconds.
Okay, how long? What was the last thing you heard then?
The last thing I heard is like, um, they brought Monel in, and he wasn't from the future, and then it kind of just started cutting off from there.
Okay, yeah, because said my OBS disconnected and then reconnect it. Hopefully, am I still live on YouTube, or can you tell?
Oh, this stream's still live.
Okay. But yeah, like Monel's supposed to be from the future, and they didn't.
Yeah.
The Daxamites then, so it didn't really make sense, for the whole Daxamite thing for present day, and then them
No, it
losing.
didn't. They just wanted to run the Daxamite invasion. That's literally the only reason they did it.
Yeah, and that was messed up too, because I think they messed up the Daxamite race in doing that too. I
Oh
don't.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, like I said, there were so many. They did so many bad, rotten things, and just for comic type stuff, forget all the social justice crap.
Yeah. I love they did it. Talking about different use of the word comic. A lot of they did it was for comedic purposes that didn't really fit.
Probably the other thing that probably you know Jimmy being black, and then the
No, I don't mind that one as much, right?
yeah.
And I'm usually against it. Like I'd rather they just didn't, because if a character has been something for so long, there's no point in changing them. But my bigger problem was less that they made him black, and the more that they made him suave. Like the person that they casted for Jimmy, and the type of person that he grew up to be, I could not imagine ever being dorky Jimmy Olsen ever in his life or ever not getting girls or anything. He just, is too suave, looks too good, he's too tall.
Yeah.
Like if they had put, I don't know, uh Donnie or Glover or Kel Mitchell in the role, then I would like, okay, I could see it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I was gonna say. Maybe I could have got past the black part, and in some ways I did, but he didn't, like you said, act anything like Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
They did better in Smallville.
Oh yeah, yeah. They did a lot of things better in Smallville. I have my complaints about Smallville, but at least Smallville was a fun show. That's what I can say about it. At least they had fun in that show.
Yeah. Joshua says, for some reason, completely forgot there was a Supergirl show.
I wish I could forget there was a Supergirl show.
Yeah, same here, I think.
You're gonna go back to forgetting now. I wish I could join you.
uh, and that's something I haven't watched for a few seasons, although from what I hear, I'm probably glad, is Flash.
Yeah, I think that's even worse too, because it's like all this other stuff kind of sunk the Flash. Because they started juggling writing teams and stuff more the more things went on. Because if you work on one show, you basically work on all of them, right? They've
Yeah.
got their showrunner, they've got the directors, but all the writing staff and a lot of that stuff they juggle around all these shows. And it's like the Flash started out really strong. I thought season one was good. There's parts I didn't like about it. I hate that they basically have to turn every show into NCIS, right? Like every show has to be a team
Yeah, I didn't
kind
like
of
that
crime
about the
scene
Flash.
drama thing. He's like more of a solo person than almost anybody is, and like I don't know, that was off, but at least the show was strong. And then season two was even still kind of strong,
Yeah.
but season three is also where like a lot of the other stuff was catching up on it, and it just like sunk downhill from there.
Yeah. The one thing besides the fact that they made it a team show, which I don't think they should have, um, for it is okay, I don't really like a lot of the shows where they have that major arc throughout the series. I like more episodic stuff. That's what I grew up with, so that's probably why I
Well, it
like.
also I think it depends what you're doing, right? Like a lot of these superhero shows would be great just episodic, right? Like we could do it like the old Incredible Hulk show.
Yeah,
It'd be fine.
keep continuity, but make it episodic.
Yeah.
Um,
But like, and you can have some arcs that get resolved that are sitting in the background. Like you could set something up in episode three of one season. It can come back around in episode nine,
yeah,
and then like hitting it in threes. Episode four of the next season revolves it. It didn't have to proliferate every single episode. It could just be a thing that keeps coming back up every so often.
Hey Jeff, I don't think they should have either. He says, "What are you? What are
Yeah.
we talking about?" Well, we started
There are
off.
certain shows though. Oh, you can continue.
We were talking about Supergirl. Now we're talking about, I guess, Flash/slash CW shows. I guess is what we'll get into.
Yeah. So one I enjoyed, and I think this is a good example, and it's because of the nature of the type of comic it came from. Most Cape comics are episodic by nature up until they started running event after event after event in recent years. But most of them are episodic in nature unless you set up like a limited series, and like this limited series is going to be about this plot, or there might be an overarching plot for the year's volume, but it's not going to be that prevalent. Um, Lucifer, which ended up leaving Fox and then going to Netflix, is one that I thought was better being less episodic, but it also came from a Vertigo print that was less episodic in the comic form, right? So it's like, I think we have to look at where it came from. And most of these comic stories were very, very episodic in each of their issues when you were reading them.
Yeah. What was gonna? The other thing that I hated didn't really like about the Flash, as I was saying about the overarching arc of the seasons. Hey, Aqua,
Yeah,
um, is that you know the villain had to be speed based. At least
every
like
time.
yeah. I think the only one was when the second to last season I watched was when it was the guy with the mind. That I don't not that I know Tinkerer's Marvel, but I can't think of the guy's name offhand. But he was supposed to be a mind villain, so
Yeah, I don't
out
think I
of
saw
like
that one. I think I checked out before that.
I think that was fifth or sixth season. I
Oh,
know.
Aqua Savage.
Okay, I remember Sin Savage being around. I just
Yeah,
can't remember a lot about you, bud. Sorry about that.
yeah. I think yeah, it was like after season 4 kind of killed it for me. So that's probably why I didn't see that one. But
Yeah,
like that man, mostly I think it's because of budget, right? There, super speed, and we even see it in the flight in like Supergirl and stuff. That's a lot easier of a special effect to put into a show than some of this other stuff. I would have loved a Captain Cold arc.
yeah, and there's something too. They made Captain Cold good, like after what
I know.
two
I know.
seasons.
I
Yeah,
hated it.
I would
He
have
should have
loved.
been a big villain, and he should have froze over the whole town. And Barry should have had no ability to keep a grip on the ground, and that would have messed up him using his speed to fight him. It could have been such a great arc.
Yeah. Hello, Undead. Yeah, and I would have also liked to see get all the Rogue Gallery in there together. It looked like they were setting it up, and then with Heat Wave, uh, Captain Cold. No, they hinted at some other guys. They don't bring Mirror Master in till like season 7 or something like that. You know, and then they messed that up. But
Okay, I will be right back.
so, how are you, Aquaman, and how are you, Undead? Uh, Fantastic to hear your day is good. Yes, it is. Uh, what I'm drawing here because it's the Chinese New Year, it's Year of the Rabbit. I'm actually trying to do up my character called Hip Hop Rapster.
Okay, sorry about that. They let the cat in here because
Uh,
the cat likes to hang out in the garage, but I don't think she realized just how cold it was, and then she was up my butt to let her back out.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's really cold in here, but thankfully I've got a space heater and even a heated blanket underneath me, so
That's
I'm
good.
fine.
Yeah, I'll probably go back and watch the seasons I've missed at some point. And of course, although I don't think I'm gonna watch I missed part of season 2, and I definitely missed season 3 of Batwoman. Not that I really want to watch that because it was horrible. Just the first season, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I kind of don't trust them to do anything anymore.
Yeah, and they wonder why they're making no money. Hey, Lorenzo. Lorenzo says hi to you, Metal.
Yeah, there was hey Lorenzo, there was a article that came out recently where they said that the CW has never been profitable, and they weren't even just talking about their superhero shows. They're talking about like the channel has
Yeah,
never been profitable.
which is crazy. Well,
Yeah, even during like the height of Supernatural, it's like, well, I'm sure Supernatural as a show during its block probably brought in a lot of revenue, especially with advertisements. It had the type of audience that buys a lot of stuff, but I mean, it can't make up for the rest of the network.
yeah. Well, and there's another show the CW did that, it drives the source, the people that are going to watch this stuff away, like Riverdale. Like if
Yeah,
Riverdale had been more towards, maybe Archie's Weird Mysteries or something like that, or
I would
but
have loved an Archie's Weird Mystery show.
but they made it even a semi-teen drama, but got the characters right. You know, it's you know, and again,
They should have done. They should have done a high budget, right? So it's not like a three panel. They basically should have just done a high budget Saved by the Bell with Archie's characters and supernatural stuff going on,
that probably would have been good.
with like the humor and everything. Like I would have watched that. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's like, but like I watched like half of the first episode. I couldn't get through it. I showed it to my mom to show her how bad it was, and that allowed me to get through the first episode. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get through the second episode. I got halfway through the second episode, and I couldn't get through it. I'm like, oh God, this is worse. It gets worse. How could they make it worse?
Yeah.
But first off, they have um what Mrs. Weatherby, not Mrs. Weatherby, Mrs. Grundy, and Archie having had a fling the summer before the show starts. It's like God, and
Yeah.
but the thing is, she's not this 90-year-old woman. She's like a 20-something-year-old woman.
I don't care. Still, that's still a little ew. Just because he's supposed to be a teenager, right?
Yeah, but well, you look at him and you'd probably say he's like 16 to 18, probably closer to 18, because
Yeah.
they, they can't they can't get kids the right age for this. God forbid that they actually, you know, cast the characters right. This is
And not ill for him, ill for her.
yeah. Lorenzo says humans are hard to trust, especially those at the CW. Uh,
I'm not even sure they're human, to be honest.
Camo opinions on Sir Andrew Tate. Uh,
I try not to have opinions on Tate.
the name is familiar, but I can't recall from where exactly.
The only opinion I like to have is that he's an okay kickboxer. He was a champion of his league, but the pool wasn't very good. It's not like there was a lot of high talent, so it's like. But he's good. He's defensive. He can keep people away from him. And he's got good kicks. So yeah, he's a pretty all right kickboxer. That's the only opinion I like to keep of the guy.
Okay, so he's a kickboxer. I didn't know that.
He's a kickboxer that moved into the manosphere, like red pill stuff or whatever, and he's a type of guy that's talking about trying to get everybody to be a top G. He's like, hey, you got to do this. You got to attract women like this, blah blah blah. Like he's got a whole thing behind him, and he says a lot of things that are true. He says a lot of things that are stretching the truth. I try not to have too much of an opinion on him.
Okay, Aqua says Mr. Tate is top G. So going from what was your comment?
Yeah.
Joshua says he has a weird accent. He spits true facts, says Aqua. Uh, Lorenzo says, sounds like a major conflict of interest for an ex girlfriend to be a student's teacher. Oh, they weren't at. She wasn't an ex-girlfriend, Lorenzo. They just had a fling.
It's just a fling. Yeah.
They had a night or two of rolling in the sheets, from what I get. I don't vape, and I'm pretty sure Metal
Oh
doesn't.
no, God, no.
And Aqua says, I'm a top G. Lorenzo saying hi, hey to Joshua.
I don't smoke or vape anything.
Same here. I don't even,
The only thing I smoke is the meat over my grill.
I don't even drink alcohol. I have nothing
I will
against.
on like a very, very rare celebratory occasion, but that's about it.
Yes, breathe air.
And I don't even drink enough to get buzzed. It's just kind of like, it's a wedding, have a glass of wine or something like that.
Nah. I don't use cigars, nothing. Uh, I might breathe heavy. I know that. But that's
Yeah.
because my nose is messed up.
Now, Rick, would you imbibe an alcohol if we were taking communion?
Uh, Maybe, but my church doesn't use alcohol to do it. It uses grape juice.
I'm not talking about your church. I'm talking about like what if we were traveling somewhere, just a couple friends going and seeing a place, and we decided to step in at a Catholic service because it was like the only thing in town, and we were having communion. Would you drink the wine?
Well, since it's probably a small little thing, I probably would. I've had a, s-
Okay, that's all that
a,
matters.
I've had a sip of wine here or there before, but it's like I think the last time I had a sip of anything alcohol was over 10 years ago. So I consider myself a non-drinker.
Imbibe in his blood.
Yeah. And hello, Head Ninja. Hey, Timothy, what's up? And what's up for you, Head Ninja? Turn on your face cam and give me 200. I hope she isn't Archie's actual teacher. Well, Miss Grundy would have been his English teacher. That's what she is in the comics, I believe. And Timothy asks how you are. No, you give me two. Okay, drop down. Oh, I'd be lucky to give you 5 push-ups. Aqua. I'd probably be able to give 5. 10, that's pushing it. Hey, good night, Bean. Does G mean gay? No, I don't believe it does.
Well, I mean, I guess if you were gay, you might as well be the top gay. Like you could be the top of whatever you are, right?
Yeah.
Now the real question, Rick, is can you do a single chin up?
No.
No, no, just being honest with yourself.
Well, I've
I don't
tried
blame you.
them.
They're hard, right?
I've tried before, all through when I was a kid and all that. I could never do a chin up. Yeah, my church does grape juice or grape drink or whatever for instead of wine for communion. I'd say probably 99, if not all, say Pentecostal Baptist type churches do that. I am technically going to a Baptist church at the moment.
Mm. It's
Although
I
I
would
didn't
actually go
realize.
as far as say like upwards of 70-ish% of all denominations in North America are technically Baptist, even the ones that don't call themselves Baptist. They're just branches of it.
well, it's hard to say. Because there is your Anglican, your Catholic, for you guys, Assemblies of God, Baptist, but then there's Southern Baptist.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of stuff that don't have Baptist in his name, but if you actually look at like where they branched off of and all of their I guess major virtues, the ones that make them different than other branches, they're basically all just Baptist. Like if you go to a Church of Christ, that's just a Baptist church that decides to not call itself a Baptist church, and they're still very big on the baptism. If you go to a Methodist church, it's kind of the same thing too. Lutheran is actually one of the few that isn't Baptist. So yeah, I will give you that, Timothy. Presbyterian's also like one of the few that aren't Baptist. There's very few denominations that aren't.
Yeah,
And if
there's
you go to a
another.
non-denominational church, those are also just Baptist, but they don't want to call themselves Baptist.
Well, they're either Baptist or Pentecostal, but don't want to call themselves one of the two.
Yeah.
A lot of the non-denominational churches or interdenominationals either follow very closely, probably to Baptist or Pentecostal.
Yeah. Like I went to I'm trying to remember the branch. They called themselves Foursquare, I think, and it was like this is just a Baptist church. I like the church. There's nothing against them. It's just like they're trying to pretend they're something that they're not. It's like you're just a Baptist church.
Yeah, well, I guess it's at that point they just simply don't. They don't have to hire a quote unquote Baptist minister to.
Yeah, I mean it's like the whole point of the Anglican Church. The Anglican Church is while it's Protestant technically, it's just another way of being Catholic without being Catholic, like in the same way that like Presbyterian almost is. And they just have a different pope, and it's the crown, right? Like the
Yeah,
king or queen of England is the pope, and that's it. But like all their other practices are basically just Catholic.
yeah. I would. Well, Lutheran might be. Lutheran and Anglican are probably close to Catholic, but not completely. Then there's
Yeah.
Presbyterian and United, which are very similar, or were at one point. I'm not sure how much
Hello,
they.
gentlemen.
Hey, Mike,
Hey,
how are
hey.
you?
All right, how about yourself?
Good, good, good.
I already liked and shared, and was just popping in to say hi and stuff for a couple minutes before I go back and try to get caught up on all my subscriptions from the afternoon here.
Cool.
Yeah, YouTube was being a little poopy again tonight.
Yeah.
Um, with the lag on my YouTube screen as well as not counting all of my views as they should.
Uh,
But that's more or less what was going on with. Well, I covered a couple of Velma stories as well as a couple other interesting stories. So on bounding into comics, they actually had two stories, one from J.B. Augustine and one from Spencer McCooley, covering the one story was talking about how Flash has been calling out the trash fire that's Velma. The other one was how the people involved with the show were actually trying to sit there and defend it, even though it is now set the record for being the lowest rated show on IMDb,
oh,
and
wow.
it's like the third lowest rated show on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
Audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes in single digits down to 6%, and they finally got under 50% on the critics score. So,
Wow.
so it's being panned all around.
Well, I haven't watched it, but from what I've heard, I can believe it. It
Yeah,
almost.
don't even need watch it. It's not even from everything I've heard. It's not even worth it. It's like
Well,
they were once again trying to shove ideology in everybody's face, and it just bought. I mean, even the people it was supposedly, I guess, even supposedly the people that it was supposed to be targeting didn't like it, and I don't mean the Scooby Doo fans either. I'm talking, one of the things I had heard too was originally what they're doing in Velma here they actually did try to do with original characters before, and it tanked, and so they decided to pull a bait and switch by utilizing the Scooby-Doo property to try to get the show over, and it just...
Yeah, I heard that. Like, they were actually just going to do like a Mindy Kaling animated show, but like focus groups were not having it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow
Well,
they
one
somehow
of the things I just... Go ahead, Rick.
I was gonna say somehow they thought they could get away with doing it with Scooby Doo. One sec. Joshua says, "Do not mess with Scooby fans."
Yep.
Right away.
Well, there was a little risque thing last week that Yellow Flash talked. Apparently, there were some people out there who thought that they were going to introduce Marvel in the series, where they were introducing him having...
Am I still here?
Her name was, I guess, was Coco in the show. Called her Scooby. That was not the case, though. And there were a lot of people who were getting upset about that because, black woman being compared to a dog, basically, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, so I mean,
I'll be right
it's
back.
like Hollywood just doesn't seem to get it.
Yeah.
They just don't seem to get it. It's like, but a couple of the other stories I covered tonight too. One, Bruce Timm, who of course is one of the producers on many of the DCAU shows that many people were growing up on, including Batman the Animated Series. We're talking about some of the stuff that made him, still makes him cringe, as the 30th anniversary of Batman Mask of the Phantasm is coming this year. That was the first big movie from the DCAU, and what a lot of people call one of the greatest movies of all time. It led into what would become the DCAU cinematic universe, basically.
The animated universe, although the animated universe isn't all completely connected with all the films and not with each other.
Yeah.
What are you done with, Aquaman? Done easy? I'm just trying to read through my chats. But go on.
And then the other story I covered, the first story I covered, was actually involving Crunchyroll. Apparently, one of their localizers decided to take out gendered language in an anime they were so a localizer, for those who may not know what a localizer is, the localizers are the people who translate the anime for the subtitles. They're the ones who actually do the subtitle translation. And apparently there was this one localizer who was basically proud of pushing this one anime, saying that they were taking out the gendered language of this one anime called Onimai, which involves what I guess the main character is one of those shut-in gamer types who gets transformed into a girl by his science-loving sister. In some respects, based on how they were describing it, I was thinking it almost seems like a reversal of kind of the Dexter's Laboratory, where you had the brother who was the science nerd and the girl who was like happy-go-lucky, and it seemed like it was the other way around, at least on that front. But
yeah.
But there's been a lot of criticism over how localizers here in the West have been just totally scorching. Well, we know what the woke crowd does with other people's IPs. That's becoming more and more apparent.
Yeah.
They a lot of times don't care about what the original intent of the IPs were or what the original creative ideas of the original. They say a lot of times, and we're even talking about this with the Velma show, right? Where they say they love and respect the original material, but everything they did, it's like, how they say action speaks louder than words?
Yeah.
The actions are saying that they're full of it.
Yeah. Let's see. Joshua says,
Anyway, that's what I was covering tonight.
sounds good. Joshua says, or the reverse Johnny Test.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to let your fans know too, Rick. Unless you want to tell them, what are you going to be doing this Friday night?
Oh, Friday night I will be on Mike's show. And you do have a rent, right? So you can put the link to your show in the chat if you want. We will be reading some old comics from 1939, August of 1939.
Right.
From which company?
We're going to be focusing this week on Centaur Comics and David McKay Publications.
Cool. And a couple weeks ago, I was with him, and we read from Marvel Comics #1.
At the end of the show, so it wasn't a problem. But then,
Yeah.
last week, your show got cut in half and had at the end of the show, so it wasn't a problem. But then, last
Yeah.
week, your show got cut in half and had to have 2 different streams.
Yeah.
You know, now that I think about it, and I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I know Rick, but I don't know the other guy who's talking.
This is.
I don't know if we've ever formally.
I think
What was that?
I think you've been on a couple times with him on here, but you were on and gone very quickly. But this is the metal. He was on and gone very quickly, but this is the metal. He appeared in the chat about a month ago or so when I was reading on yours or with you.
Is this metal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the metal.
Metal. Okay.
He has a show. I'd say.
Oh, you are okay.
He has a show similar to yours, but he goes over video game news and a lot of.
He's another niche commentator like me. Just he doesn't necessarily cover the same areas of niche I do. We probably do have some crossover, like maybe with anime comics and stuff like that, and maybe some cartoons and stuff like that. But he probably covers more video games, where I cover more manga and pro wrestling. I that's what I'm guessing, right?
I would love to cover more manga, but my co-host is more of a gamer, so we both bring in topics and.
Well, I don't even cover as much manga. Games. Yeah, I'll still read articles on manga and talk about them a little bit, but there's not as much manga news out there as there is some of the other stuff. So yeah.
Well, that's why.
But one of the other things I do. I don't know if you've seen this on my show before, Metal. I do a segment towards the end called "This Day in Niche History" when I just go back and highlight stuff that happened, of course, on this day in niche history.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to pop in for a few minutes, say hi, and let you know I liked and shared. So,
thank you.
And
remember,
Rick, I'll send you the link Friday morning, and if you guys want to come check out the show, right? Or even if you want to come check out the show tomorrow and Thursday, if you get some niche news as well, you're more than welcome to do that too. Oh, that stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I think that's been the same with me. The issues I've had the last few weeks, where it seems like the YouTube may be dragging or whatever, or because I'll have, of course, the YouTube tab for the YouTube screen and a tab for, in this case, the Discord, but usually it's StreamYard, where sometimes where at least when I'm doing my show, the YouTube doesn't seem to keep up with the StreamYard for some reason.
Yeah.
And that was getting annoying to me. And it also won't always cover. Won't if you just have just the YouTube screen open. One of the things I figured out for that is, if I have other devices on, that will help build the viewership up too, because they'll at least acknowledge those other. Like if I turn it on my phone and on my TV here or so, I will talk to you later. Thanks for having me, Rick.
1 sec, Mike.
I'll see you later. And
Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Make sure to put the link to your channel in the chat.
Okay, I'll see what I can do about that. Okay.
And I know I'm buffering metal because my OBS seems to be going in and out, which probably has to something to do with my internet.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
been
luckily it
how
doesn't seem the stream is lost. It's just like
yeah.
we're delayed from whenever you start putting out the thing again. So they'll probably be whatever we say, the chat will probably be behind on quite a bit.
Yeah. I've been having problems with my net all day. I don't.
And you're going choppy again there, Rick. But I'm about to put my link up now here. So,
Okay.
and there's my link right there. So,
Cool.
you guys want to come check out what I do? There it is. And I'm actually at 179 subscribers right now. So, getting pretty
Nice.
close to 200. You know, with any luck, I'll have 200 pretty soon there.
Yeah. Another what? 21.
21, yeah. So, anyways, guys, well, thanks for having me, and I will talk to y'all later.
Okay. Later.
See ya.
Bye.
One day I'll break 100 subscribers.
Yeah, you're at like 95, aren't you?
Depends what channel we're talking about.
For the vomitorium.
Yeah, that one's actually really close. Technically on my channel I already broke, but that was one day. Just not in the future.
Um, yeah. So I don't know what we were talking about before. It's good how reading the comics on Fridays. He's got 3 of us at the moment. He's trying to expand it. As you know, some people he gets in the chat and gets to know. They might be. He might ask some people. I've suggested you, but he would like to get to know you better before bringing
Oh
you.
yeah.
And that's something that would like going on would be like once a month or once every other month or whatever. Reading through old
Oh, I
comics.
could do a once a month, once every other month thing. I can't make any more weekly obligations at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, I get what you mean.
In fact, I'm saving one, right? Like it for whenever we do pick back up the RPG, it's like that is the one more day of a weekly obligation that I can set aside, and it's being held for that.
Yeah, we just got to figure out when that's gonna happen. Being able to get
Yeah,
everybody
I
to.
was talking to Buck about it after the vomitorium last time because he hopped on.
Yeah,
Um, and we actually may not be able to do it regularly. If that make like we might not be able to schedule it like a set day every week.
uh,
And so what I think what's probably going to happen is it would be nice. We might be able to do it every week, some weeks in a row, but we're just gonna have to like have people like how a Buck's schedule is more flexible, put up which days they're available. Or not flexible, more strict. It's not as flexible because he doesn't know his schedule till the week of, or like how Dillard's always got like a moving schedule because of his family. Like those two can tell us when, and then obviously us with like fixed things like you don't do it during your chill stream, obviously. So like
yeah,
Tuesday night would be taken out.
yeah,
I wouldn't want to do it on Wednesday as well. So like if we could find a Sunday, obviously after church for you, or if we could find like maybe it works Monday this week, but we might have to play it by ear a little bit going
yeah.
forward.
It'd probably be even Sundays. It'd be probably have to be after like about 3 p.m. for me Eastern, just because
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether you remember Hillel, whatever, however
yeah.
you say it. Been get started getting back together with him to do it lasts about an hour. We had our second week this past Sunday. Only one problem. I recorded it, but unfortunately I forgot to record his voice. So I got only my end
Mm.
of the show, so that doesn't go very well. So hopefully this Sunday we'll be able to work for that. But that's only a small in quote unquote inconvenience.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like Sunday in general probably still going to have to be the day unless we do it late enough. That's the bigger thing. Just because like obviously we can't do it earlier, like the time we normally do. Like I think it was 2 for me or whatever. It may have been like 1 for you. I think that was the time that we used to do it.
Something like that.
Um, like, or sorry, other way around. It would have been 3 for you or whatever it was, right? Because you're an hour ahead. But like we wouldn't be able to do that on a weekday because like marsupial has a normal job where he doesn't get off until like 5 or whatever. So like Sunday's probably still going to be the day. I'm just going to have to do it to where like I don't know, people's characters are off doing things when they're not there. There's going to be a lot of the change to the format.
Yeah. Well, also, Saturdays we could possibly do Saturdays too. Although technically, I've got 2 things on Saturday. Well, one's not completely for sure. I'm trying to slowly do up a reading in Discord of a comic, um, or part of a comic, and then of course, I'm doing a art stream with a few buddies, Mighty Geek Studios and Hero Shack. Which again, if you wanted to join, you could join that. You know.
Yeah, Saturdays are just a rough day, right? Because
Yeah.
like if we were doing on Saturday, I don't know that would work. Because if you're doing that stuff, Saturdays would have to be early, unless we had it dedicated for Saturdays, and I just moved the vomitorium over to Sunday. But like otherwise, like the vomitorium's already on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I forgot that too. So.
Let's
Good.
see. Goodnight Spoon asked a question.
Yeah. What is your favorite vintage Disney show? Ooh.
What is vintage? Like how far back's your limit on vintage?
Yeah, it's Joshua sort of asking that. Is Buzz Lightyear of Star Command vintage? Yes.
I don't want to think that's vintage, but I guess probably at this point, yeah, it will be.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't watched all of Buzz Lightyear Star Command, but I like that, and I think that would have been a better premise for the movie.
It would have been, yeah. It would have been cooler characters too.
Because in my opinion, that movie is not the movie Andy would have saw.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that movie would have made it out so somebody his age could have seen.
I don't know, because when I think of vintage, like the term vintage comes from the term vine, right? Which is where wine comes from. Wine is actually just another pronunciation of the word vine. They're the same thing, right? It comes off the vine. And vintage is talking about like the place or year that a wine came from. So when I think of vintage, I think of something like an aged wine. So it has to be pretty old.
Well, there's
So
some,
let's see what's
there's
the
some
good
not.
minimum year for a wine? That's a good question.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some wines that aren't that old
Yeah.
too. Just a couple years old. So yeah, what vintage? How old? What do you consider vintage? What?
So if you're buying wine on the aftermarket, the good benchmark is 20 years. So it's got to be 20 years or older. So if we're going by that logic, any cartoon that is 2 decades old is the minimum benchmark we can go by. So how old is that? Buzz Lightyear would be just cutting it, maybe. When did
Yeah.
that come out?
But there's been so many. I think it was the Wonderful World of Disney.
2000. Yeah, it counts. It first came out in 2000. Yeah.
Good Night Spoon says, I'm not a dictionary, but let's say vintage is not currently talked about or popular by modern standards. Yeah, but most of the stuff is talked about and
Yeah, that's why I like
popular.
the wine standard, right? If the aftermarket for vintage is 20 years, we'll go buy wine. So Buzz Lightyear counts. It stopped in 2001. It started in 2000. Even if we're going by the end date, it still counts because we're in 2023 now.
Uh, um, First show, I think probably my favorite Disney show. I think it was called The Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah,
Came
that's a good
on
one.
came on Sunday afternoons, and you could get or Sunday evenings, I forget, and you could get a few different cartoons, movies, of Walt Disney.
And I probably have to agree with Joshua. I do really like Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, I like that
If,
too.
if it's if it's not the Ducktales that it spanned off of, it's probably Darkwing Duck. Both of those are like really really good. But I also really liked oh god, I can't remember the name of the series. Um it was the Goofy how to series, like when he was like how to be an extreme athlete or like all that stuff, how to haunt people. I really loved that Goofy series where he was always like they had the narrator trying to tell him how to do things.
It's probably not you, Joshua. My internet has been
Yeah.
sucking all day, so we probably are cutting out. Um, but that I think would fall under the wonderful world of Disney. They would have that sort of stuff
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, they don't actually have a official name for it. It's just the Goofy How To series. That one's up there. That's pretty close.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. It
Yeah.
on the it was the at least in my area. I'm not sure. Could have been no, named slightly different, but the Wonderful World of Disney.
Well, Wonderful World of Disney, which is a good show, you can count that, was very much similar to like how House of the Mouse was later. So a lot of the stuff that were in it were aired like before other movies in theaters and stuff like that. Like they were shorts, and
Yeah.
then they were recollected and put into that show, kind of like an anthology.
Yeah.
So it is and it isn't. So the How To series is kind of its own series, but you would have also seen it in the Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah. And I guess that's more what I'm thinking of because it would have been in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, those shorts that you're talking about wouldn't have been on a TV show by themselves. They just would have been in stuff like that.
Yeah, and or like you go to a movie theater and something's playing, maybe something that's been in the theater for a while, and that's just the short they're playing before it.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that too often anymore. Any little shorts like
No,
that.
almost nobody does that. They used to. And that's how they used to air most of these shorts before they were on TV. They would always be like before movies, but then nobody does that anymore. Unless you go to like a vintage drive-in movie theater, right? And then they'll have like things cut for that, where they'll have their own cuts of films, where it'll have like a short before the film and everything like that, just to give you the experience.
Yeah.
We have one of those around here somewhere. Where is it? I think it's in Fort Worth.
Yeah. I know there's drive-in theaters around here still. I haven't been to any drive-in theater in probably like 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yes, there is one in Fort Worth. It's called the Coyote Drive-In.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been.
And they do double features. That's what I remembered about it too. I love is like if you go to a drive-in, of course you want to see a double feature. Why would you only want to go there for a single one?
Yeah.
Unless I guess if your double feature was James Cameron, you're going Avatar, Titanic. I think that's a little too long for me.
Yeah.
Hey, Crossy.
Hey, Rebellious. How are you?
Sorry I'm late. My, IRL people were trying to go ahead and get a hold of me. And
Okay, was that me or is Rebellious still here?
I'm here.
Okay, I thought.
I can't hear the metal though. I can see his green
That's
circle.
because I'm typing.
Oh, okay.
Why
And
are
good.
you typing?
Well, because we're having some delay on the stream, and Goodnight Spoon was confused, didn't hear our picks for Vintage Show, so I was typing the answer again instead of repeating it on a delay that he may not hear.
Oh
Uh,
no.
and good night, Spoon. My favorite vintage, if you didn't hear it, was The Wonderful World of Disney. So Rebellion,
Disney.
yes. Uh, Goodnight Spoon was wondering what the panel's favorite vintage um Disney show is. So it's got to
I
be
have a hard time. I have a hard time watching movies.
no. This is like TV
No,
show.
like a cartoon, like shorts and stuff like that, or something that's 30 minutes, or anywhere between like 5 to 30 minutes long.
I would say I would say Mickey.
Just like the classic Mickey shorts. Because that's
Yeah.
a fine answer. Yeah, that's a perfectly fine answer.
I love cartoons. I am one myself.
I would hope you liked cartoons if you were an animator. It'd be kind of weird.
Like, oh, I'm a animator, but yeah, I hate cartoons.
Or you could always be a snob, though. You could be like, oh, I only like fine animation. Thank you very much. I am not for your petty cartoons.
How could one not like cartoons is my question.
A lot of people, they think it's beneath them.
Cartoons aren't beneath anybody.
Yeah, well, some people some people think they're all that in a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
As for Goodnight Spoon, what the Wonderful World of Disney is, it was on when I was young, probably around 10, maybe a little earlier, maybe lasted a little longer. And it would have various Disney shorts on, maybe Disney movies on usually I believe a Sunday afternoon from where I am. So you got a
Sorry if
variety.
sorry if I sound tired. I've had a long day today.
Yeah.
And I think that was the name of it. I could be wrong for the name. I can check it here, see if.
No, I was saying, so there was many Wonderful World of Disney's throughout the time, and basically it was Disney's anthology block. Sometimes it would be like an old Disney movie would be in it. Maybe it's a cartoon or whatever. Sometimes it would just be a series of Disney shorts. There were one section of it ran from 54 to 79. Then it came back again for another host from 79 to 88. Then 88 to 91. And then it stopped there. And apparently it came coming back this year in 2023 under a new host. Probably for Disney Plus only.
Interesting.
Okay, the one here that might have been the one that I watched, one of three, I think, is The Wonderful World of Disney, first era, 1969 to 1979. And then there's Disney's Wonderful World, which was 1979 to 1981. Then Walt Disney, 1981 to 1983. Disney Sunday Movie, 1986 to 1988. And then there's The Magical World of Disney from 1988 to 1991. Probably one of those few things or a combination of what I would have watched.
Yeah.
So,
Here it aired on ABC.
yeah.
That's where you would have seen it. But it was a variety show, so like, you would see some cartoons, but then like, I don't know, Jungle Book would be on that night or something like that.
Yeah, it went from NBC to ABC, and CBS is in there for one or two of them.
Cartoons are the best, you know.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I really like cartoons.
Why not cartoons? Why would someone want to not watch a cartoon?
Because they think they're childish.
They're not
That would-
childish. They literally make mature cartoons.
Yeah, well, they do, but some people just think they are, no matter whether they're mature or not.
Uh, Those people are silly sillies.
Goodnight Spoon says, I wasn't alive for any of it. Joshua says, what's the wonderful world of Disney? Is that like House of Mouse? Were there different shows, cartoon shorts, or was it live action? There could be live
actually,
action.
House of Mouse was based off of the Wonderful World of Disney, but turning it into like entirely a kids program for a kids network, right? So instead of having like hosts between it that were talking about things to set up the next show, they just had Disney characters serving people in a big theater that was like one of those dine-in theaters.
Yeah.
So like people in like Mickey suits and stuff.
No, in the House of Mouse cartoon show, it was literally Disney characters who were watching Disney shorts. So you'd get like people from the movies and stuff like that, and like the Mickey Mouse people. Mickey owned the House of Mouse, so you would have like they were doing the waiting and stuff, and the villains would be in one place. You'd have like Jafar hanging out with I don't know, Cruella de Vil, and you'd have like Timon and Pumbaa hanging out with Genie or whatever on another table, and they were just doing things. They were little bits in between cartoon shows. And that was kind of inspired by The Wonderful World of Disney, which was a variety block that Disney ran for a very long time. In fact, that actually used to be the prestige, like the thing that people associated the Disney name with was The Wonderful World of Disney block. And at the end of their block was the Mickey Mouse Club.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Joshua, there'd be cartoon stuff, cartoon movies, live action movies, all that mixed in, depending on what week it was, what they'd show, you know. So that's probably my favorite show of Disney because you got a variety.
Lorenzo also has a variety show.
Yeah. Goodnight Spoon says, I wasn't alive for any of it.
It actually sounds more melodramatic. Like I wasn't alive for any of it because of the kind of like pensive face that he put there.
You know that we could go ahead and translate text into many different tones.
Oh, but that's why we have emojis so that we can try to
I wasn't
sense.
alive for any of it.
I perceived it as to be a sad face. I know it's not exactly sad. Sad, disappointed, that emoji.
Like oh man, I wasn't alive for this.
What's funny though is while I preferred Goofy's cartoons because I think overall they were just written better, Donald Duck's my favorite Disney character.
Why Donald Duck?
He's a fun character. Like just overall, he's a really fun character. His anger is part of what makes him a fun character because almost everything that happens to him is his fault.
That's so funny though.
Yeah. Like he's such a great character, and he's also like you respect him too. So even though like everything that happens to him is his fault, it's like he's a serviceman, right? Like that's why he has that uniform. He was a sailor in the Navy.
Yeah,
he was in a lot of like the World War cartoons and stuff like that too, during the time of the war. And it's like he's a character that you should respect, but you can't because of the way he acts. And I just love everything about Donald and his voice. His voice is great too because like everybody else just talks kind of normally. Like they might have a cartoony voice, right? Like Mickey's voice was actually originally developed by Walt Disney. He was the original voice actor of Mickey Mouse, the kind of like high pitched voice. And even Goofy, like they all have cartoon voices, but Donald literally just sounds like a duck is trying to say his lines.
Yeah. Would you say a pastry sounds like normal, or do you think they sound like a cartoon character?
I don't think pastries normally sound.
I'm talking about my pastry, rebellious pastry.
I don't know. I think I prefer it when they don't sound.
Damn. Wow, metal. What a way to talk about me like that.
Well, I'd rather say it to your face than to your back.
There's some other people that say my voice is annoying, but other people like my voice.
There's something to be said with that, but I'm not going to be mean.
Go ahead. Come at me, bro.
No, I can't be that mean. Sorry.
DM it to me.
He would hate
Then.
himself if he was that mean.
I think Metal could almost imagine what I'd say.
You probably wish it'd be deeper.
What?
You probably wish it'd be deeper.
Deeper.
No.
Mm,
But I can be deeper if you want.
I could be too. Who you doing today?
A rabbit.
A rabbit man. A man rabbit. It was going to be a girl rabbit, but I am drawing hip hop rab. I need that picture gone.
Hmm.
Rap.
The metal. Have you been watching any of my videos?
No.
That's fine.
But you can ask Rick, who
Rocky.
asked that I have not caught most of his earlier either.
Yeah.
He asked me, like, hey, did you catch this thing I uploaded? It's like, no.
Crossy.
Yes. And Joshua says, Rick, can you do Donald Duck's voice? I used to be able to do it, I think, semi good, but probably not sure how good it is anymore. Or most people thought I did it at least half decent. I can do his sneeze a little bit better.
Can't hear it at all.
No, I can't either.
I think Discord noise suppression is probably thinking that your Donald Duck sounds are noise and is suppressing you.
Oh, you didn't hear any of that?
Any of it.
Did you hear it, Joshua? They might
Settle
have.
on Discord.
He might have, because OBS might be picking up directly, but us on Discord, we can't hear it at all.
Or can you draw the?
So, Crossy, did you see that Village stream today?
Did I see what?
Village streams today.
Oh no, I didn't realize he streamed.
I saw a
My-
little bit of it.
I'm streaming tomorrow. Lorenzo's streaming on Thursday.
Joshua said he heard it and it was all right. Good night, Spoon says, Rick, can you draw the hip hop auto hip hop? I think it's
It's like hippopotamus, so it's hip-hop-opotamus, right?
Yeah.
Hip-hop-opotamus.
Hippopotamus?
And the rhyme notorous while speaking in Donald Duck's voice.
The rhinoceros.
Quack.
Rhino.
Rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros. Like it's
Rhinoceros?
rhino, that just rhymes.
The rhyming rhino.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
A rhyming rhinoceros.
Rhymo for short.
Rhymo, the Rhymo.
Rhymo, the rhyming rhinoceros.
The Rhymo rice.
Did you
Damn.
just say the rhino was a racist?
Rhino. I don't know what I'm
Or
saying.
did you say he was a ricist? He's out in the rice field growing rice.
Yes. Rice.
That's not rice. Does he
The
have
rhinoceros.
Does he have a lot of ice?
I said rice,
No.
not ice.
No, he does not. They don't have a lot of ice where rhinos are native.
I'm saying rice, not ice.
He's
Well,
also
that's
endangered.
But is that nice? That
The
you're saying?
rhinoceros. The ricerosaurus.
Excuse you, I think.
The
refuse.
ricerosaurus. Rice.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to change this, but what do you think, Metal? Hip hop rap. You should be able to see the full thing.
I only see their chest and below.
Are you looking in Discord where he's mirroring the OBS as his webcam?
I'm looking into Discord, yes.
Because I see the current full image.
Because he's got his hand on the ground and going sideways, not up and down.
Frosty, your voice is chopping out.
Yeah, not much I can do about it, unfortunately. Wish there was. I do not control the net.
Mm. Luckily, you got me in the middle. To have your
I don't know how
back.
that's luckily. Because it's not like the stream hears us if he's cutting out. It's on his end.
Yeah, are we cutting out to you, Metal or Crossy?
What was that?
Are we cutting out for you, Crossy?
Just minutely. Nothing to. Or every once in a while, it might be more than minutely, but not enough to
Crossy.
ruin the show. Let's see. Good Night Spoon says, I saw a video of a security guard assaulting a hippo today. Well, that's not good. Good Night Spoon.
That
What?
doesn't sound smart at all.
Good Night Spoon says,
Wait, let me check the chat. There's no way I heard that correctly. I'm not gonna say what I heard. A hippo today. You should control the net if you learned how to fish better. Nice one, good night.
if I learned to control the net better, I'd be able to get a lot more fish.
Yes. Fish meaning subscribers, I think.
Oh, that's what he meant when become Fisher of Men. It was to build your subscriber count. That makes sense now.
You should always try to build your subscriber count. The more people you have loving your stuff, the better.
Oh, I'm trying to shrink it.
Why would you want to shrink it? Do you really think you suck that bad?
No, I want a closer niche audience. I want people to actually get along with each other.
Get along with each other? That's silliness. The real world knows that you can't have everyone get along with each other.
You can in small groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, then you can. But if you get large groups, you can have them fight in your chat and have drama and have everybody come just to watch the chat and the drama in the chat. Well, you got no drama on the panel.
Watch hours that way.
But no, I wouldn't want drama on my chat either.
But Tori, I don't care about that. I'm talking about my personal channel.
Yeah. I've seen there be drama the vomitorium.
No, we've never had any drama on the vomitorium.
Yay!
Ever. Perfectly nice show.
You sure about that?
Absolutely.
I think you're being sarcastic.
Nope.
Would
Dead serious.
would
That's
the
exactly how
metal
the show's always
ever
been.
be sarcastic?
Yes!
I think you're being sarcastic now about him being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Remember Flint on New Year's Day?
I've never had a Flint on my channel.
Now I know he's being sarcastic.
No, I'm true. I've never had a Flint on my channel.
I will back that up. He's had a
How could you never have a Flint on your channel?
I don't even know a guy named Flint.
Y'all are gaslighting me.
No?
no. He's had a flint, but not a flint.
Flint!
Oh yeah, I know Flint.
Yeah, I'm talking about him.
Yeah, well, I didn't know who a Flint was though.
He knew who you're talking about, but he was teasing you because you weren't saying the name right.
Flint!
There's no N.
Filt.
Flint!
Flit.
You...
See, Joshua doesn't know any Flints either.
Man. I always call him by Flint.
Actually, well, you know of some flints, the Flintstones.
Where are the Flintstones?
I'm not sure I know of them. I'll get back to you on that.
They're the
Oh,
modern
the-
Stone Age family.
I might have met the Rubbles once though. They're nice folk.
There's definitely some rubble with him.
I knew a Clint once. Which was a Clint when I was real young.
Interesting.
Was his last name Eastwood?
No. I'm actually trying to remember what his last name was.
Couldn't
I wouldn't say it on air, even though it wouldn't matter because nobody'd be able to track him down anyway. But like, definitely was not Eastwood.
Goodnight Spoon says, I'm a jet son.
Jetsons. The Jetsons.
Flint Lockwood.
Oh, now I see the full thing.
Ah,
They're a character with a crop top and boxers on.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hip hop. Like 90s hip hop culture.
Yeah, I might change the look a bit. I don't know. This was
They
just
look
a-
amazing.
this
Good
was-
night, Spoon. Good night, Night Spoon. Good night, Good night, Spoon. Mm.
Yeah, I didn't know
Good
what
night.
to do with hip hop.
See, now this makes your
Rapster.
character look even more. Makes it look even more like mine because they both have like arm and leg warmers now.
That's more of a gauntlet than a leg warmer or arm warmer. I don't know what it's called for the leg.
Leg warmers? Egg warmers?
A shin guard.
Yeah.
Why would you
Well,
put
one, those aren't
on
gauntlets,
skin?
right? Because a gauntlet by definition has a glove, right?
Oh, okay.
That would be a bracer if it
Okay.
was just the
Leg
arm
warmer?
piece. And they also technically greaves, which is the closest thing to your shin guard, would have some type of plate above the shoe itself, but it's mostly the shins, and they're called greaves.
Oh, okay. I have no idea what all the armored stuff is called. Especially for legs, There's boots and then, I don't know what.
Shoulders, knees and toes. Head, shoulders.
Okay, my net just went in and out again. But we're getting close to that time, so since my net's being a pain, um, and I don't want to risk it doing it again in the next 6 minutes, I think I'm going to end a bit early, especially since I'm sort of done with
Alrighty.
drawing. Would you like to promote yourself, Pastry?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel by the name of Rebellious Pastry, where I basically go ahead and tell about different instances, such as when I couldn't cook a potato, or when I couldn't put the microwave back together, so I ordered a sandwich, and then ended up working at that sandwich shop later.
Mm.
And I'm also doing a show tomorrow by the name of Pastry's Hobby Interview Show, where I'm basically going to interview a friend of mine about reading.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything you would like to promote, then, Metal?
Well, I mean, Rick could have asked. Maybe I would have responded to him.
The Metal.
I was just before Pastry did. I was about to when Pastry ended her spiel. Pastry
There.
Metal.
Yeah, we got things to promote.
Want to promote?
This is normal. Yeah. Obviously, xdynamuschaos.com. I'm adding even more stuff to the site. I still have to catch up on a couple different things, but it should be back to page production very soon. Going to hit the year rolling. Got those a couple of shorts to finish, and then I want to do a schedule between X Dynamis Chaos on tour with Mitch and Sandy and Realms and Relics, so I'll drop that in there. But I also just recently added a letters section, kind of like how old comic books used to have like a letters section or whatever, and I feel those need to come back. So if you want to send a letter to X Dynamis Chaos, if it's 500 words or more, that is our limit. It has to be at least 500 words. I will publish them on the site on Monday. You can say positive things. You can say negative things. No holds barred, though, if you are excessive with your link. Not the context. I'll just like bleep the words out or whatever.
You just would be like, you bleep, 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 bleep.
If you even have complaints, for my own enjoyment. And also, I will be not watching Pastry stuff because I'll be running the Vomitorium tomorrow.
Colin, we have our shows at the same time yet again.
Probably, I always run it at the exact same time that I run it every time.
Same here!
You guys can come over and join my better show.
Hey! If you want to talk about games, that's fine. If you want to learn about a new hobby, that's even finer.
Okay, so with that said, I'd like to thank my panelists for being here, being on, talking with me. Those that are here now and we're here. Like to thank everybody in the chat for being here. You guys have made it great. So thanks for being here. You've made the show even better. And check out my latest video, which is some excerpts from me reading a comic on Discord by the great Gary Shipman for his Packham's Land 25th anniversary. It's the color edition. It's #1. It was a good read. And of course, this Saturday, noon Eastern, I'll be reading another book, most likely Titan, Mouse of Might. So we'll catch y'all later. Bye for now. God bless. Love you all. Have a great and wonderful day or night, whatever.